As you can see, we have moved several inches to my left because it's relevant to today's wrap-up video, because I'm a huge weeb. Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Grace. Thank you for tuning in. And, well, it's April. It was March. I read some books in March, except, oops, it was all manga. I tried to read, well, this counts as reading, but I tried to read books. I just couldn't. I tried to start some books, I just couldn't get into them. I texted my friend, I'm like, friend, I can't finish these books. And they're like, then drop them. So I did. And then I went to my favorite manga bookstore recently, and then I was like, damn, I love manga. So I bought a whole bunch of manga, and now that's where all this came from. So that was basically my March. I just kept going to buy manga, and then I bought more manga. There's like this whole shelf used to be mostly empty until I went on a huge manga binge and then bought like so much more manga. So like you'll probably hear about those when I read them. Like some of them are really cool, so I can't wait to start. You know, this isn't like my other wrap-up videos. We're gonna do a huge shift and talk about manga, but you know, stick around. You might hear about something you like if you're not a big manga fan. And you know, maybe if you are a manga fan, maybe you'll find something new in this list. Who knows? Some of these series I think are a bit under the radar for me. I don't hear a lot of people talking about them as much as I think they should be talked about, and some of them is pretty new, and some of them is quite popular. You'll hear about one of them in a second. I did read like some books, including one that I forgot to mention in my February wrap-up video. That's gonna be a thing with me, I think, where I'm just gonna forget a book that I read last month and then bring it to the next month. That's just gonna be a thing. It's gonna be cyclical. It's cyclical. So the poor book that I forgot to mention in my February wrap-up video was Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. So the synopsis goes is that there's this young woman whose name I forgot. She gets a job being an apartment sitter for this very wealthy apartment building. So whenever an apartment is empty, they hire a sitter. So the sitter, all they have to do is just keep watch of the apartment, make sure no one breaks in, make sure everything is clean, all that kind of stuff. But this apartment job comes with a lot of strange rules, like you have to be in the apartment every night, you can't bring guests in, you can't do this, can't do that. So it was kind of sketch. Also, like, they pay in cash, so that's really sketch. But this poor woman, she is like down on her luck, like has no money in her bank account, job pays really well, so she's like, damn, you know what, it's sketch, but I have to take it. I have no other choice. I have no money. So, and then of course, you know, this is a thriller book, strange things start happening, and then shit happens. This book was all right with me. You know, I think for the first half or so, it really was a page turner for me, trying to get all of these clues, trying to figure out what's up with this strange apartment. Is this person the one? Is that person the one? Is something gonna happen with this person? So that, you know, of course, I don't read thriller books a whole lot, but you know, thrillers are page turners, so like you gotta figure out what happens. So that's why I really like the first half. And then the second half set everything up very conveniently, I think. So, and then it was kind of hinting towards one explanation for the reason why this is all happening, and I'm like, oh, this is the reason? But then it switches over to this reason, like at the very end it's like, oh, it was actually this whole time, and I'm like, I don't know if I actually would have liked it to be the other reason you guys were hinting at. So, and then the ending rolled around and I'm like, okay. But like, you know, the very ending was cool, and it ends on a really nice hopeful note. So I thought that was really sweet. And I think the thing that I really was drawn to towards this book the most was the main character. What's her name? Jude? Jules. Okay. So the thing is about the main character, Jules, is that she has no money. She's like down on her luck, and it wasn't her fault. You are told like her family history, her backstory, how she ended up this way, and really like it was just a set of unfortunate circumstances. And I think that's the thing. she also touches upon it as well, where like, you know, people think of poor people and they think that they're just lazy like people, but they're not, just because like a very shitty set of unfortunate circumstances rolled around and like basically life hit you with the shit stick. That's not your fault. Like, you could be the most hardworking person on the planet and then something happens that just makes your life crumble down, and it's not your fault at all. Because I guess, you know, because I'm thinking about like certain family members of mine who are like, oh, like poor people aren't like financially literate, where it's like, you know, how can you be financially literate when like your house is burning down? And it, you know, Jules as well, even though of course like she's dealing with her own set of problems, you do get enough of her family backstory to like understand the decisions she makes. Because the thing I also really liked about Jules is that she was very empathetic and always wanted to be on the lookout for the other apartment sitters. And you realize that, like, I don't want to spoil it too much, but you know, there are certain aspects of her backstory that lend to her sympathetic, her empathetic nature, her wanting to look out for the other apartment sitters, and that kind of kicks her into the protagonist role, basically. Well, I think this book is a really solid read. I think it's a great thriller book. It definitely kept me on the edge of my seat for a time. And, you know, if you like thriller books, I think this is worth a read. Right, so that's a quick wrap up on the poor book that I left out for February. I'm gonna go out of order a little bit and talk about the books that I read first, which really were just two of them. And the first one is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. This is Hank Green's debut novel. It's an adult novel, and it follows this young woman named April when she discovers a mysterious statue in New York City and names it Carl. She makes a video about it and it goes viral. As the story goes on, you realize that there are more Carls in like every major city on the planet, and people are trying to figure out, where did this Carl come from? Where did this statue come from? Is it like some sort of marketing grab, like some art installation? But then you quickly realize that no, Carl is actually more than that. But this book is sort of less about the sci-fi and more about April as a character dealing with fame, dealing with publicity, being a public figure, and like all the stuff that comes along with it. And, you know, I think in the author's note as well, Hank Green mentions that it's based off his own experiences as an internet personality. I wanted to like this book. I feel kind of bad that I don't like it as much as I do, but the thing is that the thing that kind of got me was the character voice of April. So April is like this super messy, bisexual disaster of an adult, and of course I was totally there for that. But there's just something about the character voice that I kind of just didn't click with. I can't put a finger on it. If I could try to put it into words, there's just something about, like, I can't really see her. There is kind of a lack of physical description, but you know, like, she says she wants to do a thing and I'm not really sure why. But then she kind of does explain why, and then I'm like, maybe you want to explain that a little bit more, why? Because April could have stopped after getting viral the first time, but she keeps going for reasons that I think I understand, but I'm not 100% sure that I do. And so she makes a lot of also really messy, like, bad decisions. And of course I'm all there for that. But even a bad decision, there's usually a reason that goes along with it. And I wasn't exactly sure why she made a bad decision. But I guess also the point of bad decisions is that sometimes they're just reckless. But then at the same time, I didn't really think of April as a reckless person. So yeah, I just couldn't really click with the character. But overall, I did like what this book had, what this book explores with the nature of fame, with the nature of publicity. Because the thing is that when April becomes more and more popular, gains more and more fame, she's also gaining a lot of hate, a lot of mean-spirited people, a lot of people who are also perhaps on the other side of the spectrum, just obsessed with her and sometimes imitate her. All the stuff that comes with fame. Because the thing is with April is that what she shows with fame. You're almost just not someone anymore. You are something. And everyone has an opinion about you. Everyone thinks they know better than you. Everyone thinks they know you, but then they just don't. There is just the one side of you that they know. Like, the internet can't encompass every single facet of a human being, and it just really shows that here. I do actually want to read the sequel that came out. Was it recently? I don't know. But there is a sequel for this, and I do want to read it because this book ends on a really big cliffhanger, and you know, the mystery isn't quite wrapped up yet. I do want to see what happens with the plot. I do care about the other characters. There is a really big cast, I mean, it's basically the whole world. But there are other characters around April who are like calling April out on her bullshit, and I'm like, yeah, April, calling you out on your bullshit. You know, I do want to read the sequel, and I do think, you know, if this premise interests you and you want to explore the nature of fame and the nature of going viral, you know, I think this might be the book for you. Like, you know, like, here's the thing though, right? Because like the thing is that I don't talk about books that I don't finish. And if I don't finish a book, that probably means I really didn't like it. But, you know, I finished this book, I did like it, you know, but there's just some things that like didn't really click with me, and that's okay, you know? It'd be like that sometimes. So the next book on this list that I finished quite recently is Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. This is a pretty short book. I think it's YA, and it follows this young girl named Jam, and she lives in the city of Lucille. And in this world, monsters don't exist anymore. Everything is great. Everything is perfect. There are no more wars. There is no more crime. There's no more hate. There's no more discrimination. However, a creature called Pet comes into Jam's life, and Pet is like, there's a monster in Lucille and we gotta hunt it down. I think this was a very interesting book. I've never read anything like this before. And I've heard about it talked around a lot, so when, you know, a library hold came up, I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. This one, I did really like it. And I think it raises some really interesting thoughts, some really interesting concepts. Like, could humanity ever really achieve a society with no violence, no hate, no discrimination? Will there always be something lingering? And it just really goes to show how denying it doesn't make it go away. It could make the problem get worse because, you know, Jam is a young girl. She never lived in the age when monsters were around. Her parents did. Her friends' parents did. And so when they say, like, there are no more monsters in Lucille, Jam doesn't know what a monster looks like. So she can only really go by what the adults teach her. And so when a creature like Pet comes around and says, there is a monster in Lucille, we have to hunt it down, Jam is kind of on her own, going off of the information from history books, from kinder adults who say like, hey, like, you should know what a monster looks like. It is a pretty short book, so it is very simple. They don't really go very deep in with a lot of the backstory with Lucille. They don't really go in a lot of like world building. For the most part, it just really seems like our world but different. I would have liked to see more, like perhaps a little bit more about what I just talked about, you know, like how can we not close our eyes to what we think is gone already but it's still there? And you know, for the because it's so simply written, and also I don't remember how old Jam is, so in my head she's like 12. This felt more like a high middle school read to me. That's not a bad thing. I really do think like this book should be read. It's just it just raised a lot of like thoughts with me, which is why I'm talking like a bit rambly right now. You know, I just really am thinking a lot because, you know, about this book, because like I talk about it with my friends a lot too. Like, once this generation gets older, Generation Z, maybe the generation after that, I don't even know, like what, like can we make a better world for ourselves? And then once we do, like, how will our attitudes be afterwards? Like, will we also deny deny what we think is gone, like, and is still lingering. It's like, you know, exploring like the cracks of utopia. But yeah, overall, I gave this a 3-star because I do wish we could have explored deeper. I do wish like we could have seen more, and you know, the writing style was a bit like here or there for me because like Jam uses a lot of different methods of communication, and sometimes I got a bit lost. But Jam is a great character. I'd love to see more of her. But seriously though, like Pet, I thought it was a really good book, and I really think y'all should read it too. It's a short read. I mean, go for it. Make yourself think like I did. Unless you don't want to think, then just, I don't know, take a nap. Right, so now we can get into all of the manga that I read this month. Let's just get right into the weep shit. Okay, and we are going to be talking about the manga that everyone and their mother has read, and that is Chainsaw Man by Tatsuki Fujimoto. Really quick, Chainsaw Man is about this boy named Denji. I thought it was Denki for a second, and I'm like, whoops, wrong blonde boy. So Denji works as a devil hunter along with his pet dog Pochita in order to pay off his dead father's debt. He is so poor, he is selling off pieces of himself. He is working as a dog for the Yakuza, but then he gets betrayed and he's left for dead. However, Pochita makes a deal with him and he becomes a half devil called Chainsaw Man. I guess it's just because like I've been thinking about, you know, similarly to Lock Every Door, characters who are dealing with like financial troubles and who are, you know, don't start out in the greatest of circumstances. So that's why I think I was really drawn to Denji at first, because, you know, he is a boy with simple dreams. He's like, you know, I think it would be really great if we could get jam on our bread. I think it would be really great to get a girlfriend. And I'm like, dude, same. So that's why I was really drawn to Denji. But, you know, I think what also really interests me about this volume is sort of introducing shades of grayness into the shonen genre, because oftentimes it's really just, these are the bad guys, these are the good guys, they're gonna fight, the good guys are gonna win. But I think with Chainsaw Man, you know, I've only read this first volume, so I don't really know what's gonna happen next, but I'm really interested because, you know, Denji, after he makes the deal and becomes Chainsaw Man, he is picked up by the public safety devil hunters, basically the police, I guess. No cops. And the thing, even with the public safety officers, you think, oh, but is Denji safe? Are these the good guys? Because the way they treat Denji, you'd think he never really left the frying pan. Maybe he's in the fire now. So that's what I'm really interested in seeing. There are other characters that I introduced in the later half of this volume that I'm really interested in, such as Power. She seems really cool. And you also kind of see how she grows as a character as well. How can she affect the rest of the story as it goes. And I love the art style. It's just so gruesome. It's so dynamic. It uses a lot of like sketchy style, which I really like. I don't even know if I'm allowed to show this to you, but real quick, this is one of them. It's probably really bad, but it's just like detailed and sketchy and messy and gory and gruesome at the same time. And I'm kind of into that. So like, you know, I mean, if you like darker side, action-packed sort of stories, then, you know, I think Chainsaw Man is good. Like, you know, the hype is worth it this time, you guys. Like, I want to read more of this. It's just a matter of trying to find the next volume because they're sold out everywhere. I mean, I'm thinking of caving in and just getting the Shonen Jump app because it's only $2 a month. I might go for it because, you know, I really want to see what happens next. Because, like, I really want to go scroll on the Twitter tag, but I don't want spoilers. And anime is in the works, so I am really excited for this. So now we're gonna go into the soft, lovey-dovey territory. And this is Sasaki and Miyano by Harusono. And so this is a boys love manga, and it's so simple. It's high school boys becoming friends and maybe something more. It's really short, so, but like I feel like a lot happens in this volume. So basically, Miyano is a freshman, Sasaki is his upperclassman, his senpai, and they start a friendship over reading boys' love books. Because it's so short, it's pretty much a slice of life manga, but I love the art style. Like I said, I'm really into like soft, sketchy stuff, and I think, you know, this is all just, and like the boys are really cute as well. But you know, like it employs like the basic boys love tropes. Like Sasaki is like the handsome, tall, upperclassman delinquent boy, and Miyano is like cute and sweet and short and is like the freshman. There's also like, they don't explicitly call themselves gay, they don't call themselves queer, like Miyano just like likes the stories. But Sasaki like has this really sweet moment in which he's like, you know, like, I'm reading these stories and I never thought a relationship like this could happen, but it's really sweet. You know, it really goes to show why representation matters, why diversity matters in stories, so that you read a story and you think, oh, this could be me. I think I see myself in these characters. I thought that was really sweet with Sasaki. The story is broken up into like shorter 4-panel stories, and then you got bigger stories as well, chronicling like their friendship together, like how they met. And I think an anime adaptation is in the works, which is why I ended up buying this, even though it's like half the size of a regular volume and it's still priced at the full price. But this is more of a character-driven story, and I really like the characters of Sasaki and Miyano. I thought they were really cute, and there are other characters around them who kind of throw their own in the mix, so I think it was really sweet. And you know, I think I'm like 99% sure an anime adaptation is in the works, so I'm definitely going to be following the story, and I'm definitely going to be watching the anime when it comes out. If you think you might like this, then I say give it a go, you know? Pay the $13. The next book on this list is probably no surprise given what I just talked about, and that is Volume 5 of Given by Natsuki Kizu. For those of you who don't know, Given is about a band. And it all starts with this boy named Mafuyu who wants to learn how to play guitar, and Uenuyama who teaches him, and then discovers that Mafuyu has an amazing singing voice and asks him to join his band. And his band also consists of Haruki, the bassist, and Akihiko, the drummer, and it follows all their journey as a band. It follows all these characters and their relationships to each other, and it came out with a great anime a couple of years ago and a movie. So the movie that came out either this year or last year is basically all of this, all of Volume 5 in anime form. I didn't really like well, generally I don't really like the anime as much as I like the manga, because there's just something about the animation style that feels so simple. And I feel like it loses out on a lot of, like, you know, the finer details that the manga art style has. And sometimes, you know, the animation is so stiff and I'm like, they don't really move a whole lot and all that stuff. But the music is great. I mean, that's the one thing the anime will always have over the manga, is the music and the sound aspect of it. But I absolutely loved Volume 5. I thought the story was so, I think it reaches the crux of the story of like what Given is trying to build up to, about music, about love, about loss, and about connection. Because as I've been reading the other volumes of Given, I was just sort of like, I don't really know, because there is like a lot of messy stuff that goes on. One of them is in a toxic relationship with another character, and that's all very messy, and I'm like, oh, like, I don't really understand what's going on here. But with Volume 5, it really reaches sort of the crux of the story, like what it means to connect with someone who, you know, isn't in your life anymore. Love will always end in death or heartbreak, but that doesn't mean, even though the person's not in your life anymore, that the feelings that you've shared with the person within you, they're not gone either. And so that's why all the characters turn to music to express their emotions, to express to the person they want to connect, even though they can't see them anymore. So I thought that was really sweet. I was like tearing up, and I'm like, oh my god. I think I'm like so emo now. So yes, I do recommend Given. I think it's a great story. You know, it's not a perfect story. I have like a lot of reservations about it, but like I feel like that's another video, and I feel like I need to talk to another person who's also read this to understand my thoughts about it. But yes, I do recommend the manga. I do recommend the anime if you know that's your jam, but you know, I personally think I like the manga more. And I can't wait to see what happens next, because that part isn't animated yet, but volume 6 doesn't come out until like this summer. But seriously though, I really like Given, and if you read up to volume 5, I think maybe you'll understand what I'm trying to talk about, because I don't want spoilers. But it was a really good story. And speaking of messy queer love stories, we have Blue Flag volume 5 and 6 by Kaito. Blue Flag, this is volume 1, and it follows these high school students named Taichi, Futaba, and Toma, and also Masumi, who isn't shown here. And so Taichi is a high school student, and he's, you know, living his life, trying to, you know, study hard and get into a good college. And then he rekindles with his childhood friend Toma. And so one day he also meets his other classmate Futaba, who has a crush on Toma, and she asks him if he can help her gather enough courage to confess to him. Futaba is a really shy, sweet girl, and Taichi's like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's get the courage so that you can talk to Toma and be friends with him. And along the way, Taichi and Futaba also become friends. But then we learn that Toma has a crush on Taichi, and Masumi has a crush on Futaba, and Masumi is Futaba's best friend. And so it's a big love quadrangle. And it really works, because, you know, the thing with love triangles is that most of the time, as we've seen it in popular media, it's that it's like two guys thirsting over one girl, and it's all lame. Everyone should be in love with each other in a big polyamorous throuple. But I really like this because I think it just really taps into a lot of teenage emotions, a lot of teenage feelings, like wanting to be more confident in yourself, dealing with regret for the things that you weren't able to do, and then what do you do if you're faced with the same situation again? Do you also make the same decisions as the ones you regret? Especially with volume 4, I think it touched upon it as well. Like volume 4 is all the way up there. With volume 4, it touched upon like Toma and all of his feelings, and all the things that like you can just tell that he wishes he could say, but he just can't, because in Japan, because being queer in Japan is a totally different situation than being queer in America or anywhere else. Toma, like it's so much like dramatic irony, because we know that Toma is gay. No one else knows, except for Masumi, that Toma is gay, and you see what he wants, you see what he wants to do, you see like his expressions on his face, and you know, but then he can't do that with anyone else. He can't be free with anyone else. And so when he makes like bad decisions or like reacts badly, you know why he can't, because he can't say it, because he's not free. And he wants to be free, but then the other characters don't understand what he means by that. And then it's like, no, but we do. We know he wants to be free in a way that he just can't express it with other people right now. And like that really, And then with volume 5 and 6, which is the volumes that I read this month, it also, it kind of introduces another side to friendship, not just between those of the same sex, but also of opposite sex, because some side characters are made more main characters, and then we're shown kind of like the friendship between girls and boys. Can't they just be friends? Do they have to be romantic? And these two volumes touch upon that especially. Like, we don't have to be so heteronormative. We can just be friends. And it also explores sort of the unfair standard, the unfair judgment that is placed upon the girl when she like rejects the boy's confession, when she has a lot of friends who are boys, and then people think that she's a slut, and no bueno. And you know, it also touches upon like the age-old high school problem of college. One of them, some characters want to go to faraway colleges, some of them want to stay together, and it's just how do you deal with that as well? Honestly, I highly recommend Blue Flag. I highly recommend you read all of them. It's just a really multifaceted, character-driven story. It's queer, it's emotional, it's angsty, and volume 6 ends on this cliffhanger, and I really want to read what happens next. And I just want to root for everyone. Like, I love all the characters. I don't care who ends up together, who doesn't end up together. I just want everyone to be happy. That's just how great this manga is. And I think it's ending soon, which I hate. I hope this gets an anime adaptation soon, because I love this series. I can't even gush about how much I love this series. Please read this, talk about it with me. I want to talk about this with more people because it's such a good manga series. So the next books on this list are Spy Family by Tatsuya Endo. And I read volumes 2, 3, 4 because I was waiting for them to come out. Spy Family is a great, fun shonen series, and as you can tell, it's about spies. So we follow this main character named codenamed Twilight, and he is a master of disguise, one of the best spies, and so much so that the government doesn't even know his real name. That's how good of a spy he is. Like, forget James Bond, everyone knows him. Twilight is where it's at. So he gets an assignment one day to infiltrate a school that houses one of the leaders of a political party, and he is tasked with forming a family. So he finds this young girl named Anya, and he adopts her, and he's like, okay, you're gonna be my daughter now. And he also finds a wife in the form of sweet, hapless Yor, who is also in need of a fake boyfriend to kind of reassure her brother that, you know, she is all right. Like, I'm doing fine for myself. I'm not going to be a single woman for the rest of my life. However, it's revealed that Yor is actually a contract killer and Anya is a telepath. So you have this family that is formed of a spy, a assassin, and a 6-year-old telepath who is just so starved for content. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna join this family. And it's so funny how they all try to keep each other like off their trails because they all have a secret. But at the front of it all, they are such a sweet family. They all care about each other a lot. They grow to know each other. They grow to care for each other. We get to see Twilight's like antics as a spy. We get to see Anya in the school trying to, you know, help with her father's mission, trying to get close to the leader of the political party's son who's in her class. And we also see Yor, who is really, really strong. But at the same time, she's just like, you know, sort of flustered, anxious, wants to be a good mom to Anya. And we also see her brother in this volume who is also really just wants to look out for his sister, wants to make sure that she is married to the right man. It's just a big family, and there's a lot of antics, there's a lot of fun times. It's such a great volume, and the art style is great. The characters are so expressive, which just makes the fun comedy even more funny. I can't wait for this to get an animated series because like I really do think it's just gonna be a really fun time. It's so fun. I can't even begin to say how funny it is. Like, honest to God, laugh out loud. So I really do think that if this sounds like you're interested in this, I say go for it because it's so funny. It's so well written, and I love all these characters, and it's all just so fun to read because like you all know their secrets. So it's a really fun story full of dramatic irony. Like, I highly recommend Spy Family if you are interested. So, and pray to God for an anime adaptation to come out soon because honestly, I think it'll do great. I think it'll do really good. So finally, the last book on this list, I'm back on my MCR bullshit, and I got The True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys by Gerard and Shaun. Do I even need to explain what this book is about? Okay, fine. I'll explain. After my foot stops falling asleep. Picking up after the Killjoys music videos by My Chemical Romance. This is the sequel to the story in the music videos, and we follow the girl 12 years after the death of the, oh, spoiler alert for the music videos, the death for the Killjoys at the end of the Sing music video. Well, actually, how do I begin with the plot? We follow the girl, like I said, 12 years after the death of the Killjoys. She meets people. She does stuff. Stuff happens. I'm doing a really bad job at this. Well, okay, so I guess you can probably tell from my expressions that I didn't really like... Oh, I did like this. I just don't think it was done great as it could have been done. Okay, so the problem with this story is that there's too much story and it's so little book. So we're introduced to a bunch of new characters. They don't get a whole lot of backstory. They don't even get a whole lot of screen time because there are so many. And then we're introduced to world building concepts, and we're introduced to concepts in general, and a lot of things go unexplained. And then the ending happens and it's done like, I feel like in 2-3 pages. If this story had gotten more page count, I think it would have benefited greatly from it. I literally do feel like that they like cut panels out in the middle. An action would happen, but then it would just happen in like 1-2 panels, and I'm like, wait a second, how did that happen? So the girl meets other, I don't know if I could call them killjoys, but like killjoy wannabes, and they want to take it in a different direction than the killjoys did. And then there's also the Better Living Industries blind. The villains also do their own thing. I'm struggling here. So like at the end of the day, I'm just left with a lot of questions. Who is this character? What does this mean? How did that happen? I don't know if I want to go into spoilers. I feel like I should. I feel like I should, because how can I review? I basically wrote this all down in my Goodreads review. So like, I don't know, go check out my Goodreads. The reason why I gave this a 2.75 star is because I do like the art style, except for the things that I'm going to talk about in a bit. And I do like the aesthetic, and you know, overall, like, it's done well. It's just not done great. It could have been better. There is so much potential. But like, also another thing that really bothers me is that it's been talked about online as well, is that, so for those of you who probably do know, is that the girl portrayed in the music videos, she was portrayed by Grace Jeanette, haha, Grace. She goes by Grace Clark now on her socials, and as far as I could gather, she's biracial, as evident by her very big, very beautiful hair. The problem with this, though, this comic in particular that a lot of people have problems with, including me, is that I'm just gonna come right out and say is that she's basically whitewashed. So like, as you can see here, her hair is so flat that she might as well just be like a totally different character altogether. She could be played by Sadie Sink from Stranger Things, and compare that to Grace Jeanette. That's not, I don't like that. It's no bueno for me. Cause that's the thing, like with the hair, like you could argue for her skin tone, but it's also hair. It's not just skin. It's like so many other different traits. It's so, you know, I'm biracial. I would hate it if someone drew me more white. That's not who I am. There are only 3 characters with brown skin tones. One of them dies right away. The other 2, I don't think we even get their names. The main villain, gosh, do we even get her name either? She's the only Asian character, because she was Asian too in the music videos. I wish she would have been given more depth. Also, she wears like BDSM outfit, and I'm like, why? Maybe there are 2 other Asian characters, but they weren't really explored a whole lot. I don't think we even got their names either. Technically, we did get one of their names, but I don't know. But they were in a group. They were in a partnership, so I don't know if I don't know whose name it is. And then we got one other character, and the thing is that they look like they could be Asian, but they're not given enough detail to confirm whether or not they are Asian. So I'm just like, are you Asian? He kind of look Asian, but I could be wrong. But you know, this book is a little bit more diverse in other ways. Like there are queer relationships and characters with disabilities, and I think it does touch upon what the antagonist is against, because although we don't know exactly what Blind is trying to do, like I don't really know what their goal is. I just know that they like hate people who are different. And so I think Blind reflects, you know, sort of the greater systems in America at large that use their power and influence to oppress marginalized groups. Because I really do think like what this is trying to do is talk about the greater systems of oppression at large here in America. Like there's a character who deals with discrimination in healthcare, basically. And so I'm like, shit, that's exactly what we're going through right now. I just think like, yeah, like I said, like, you know, there's still a lot more white characters. There's still like, I'm not a fan of the way some characters are drawn, and too much story, not enough explanation. We could explore the world building. I don't know if this is a magic system or a power system. I don't know what that system is that's in this book. I have so many questions. And you know, also, I think what could have been touched upon in this book that I thought about as I was reading it is the legacy of activism. So we have the girl who is, you know, well known as the girl who rode along with the Killjoys. And we also meet this other character named Val Velocity who sees the Killjoys as failures. He's like, you know what, like fuck the Killjoys, they failed, they died, I'm gonna do better. Like people won't even think about party poison anymore, I'll be more famous than they are. And so he like formulates his own plan to take down Blind. To be a weeb for a second, I thought about Bakugo from My Hero Academia, because like Val Velocity reminded me of him a little bit. I'm not gonna go into My Hero Academia because like I don't know how many of you have read it, but like it's kind of a similar idea, you know, like a symbol to you has fallen. How do you react to it? Do you react with gratitude that they did this work at all, or do you react with discontent, with dissatisfaction, with like betrayal? I really do think that like if this book were longer, it could have touched upon that idea, because, you know, with the times we are living in right now, we are still carrying on the work that was started by activists during the 60s, during the civil rights movement. We are still carrying on their work. We are fighting for so many more people now, like with Black Lives Matter, with Stop Asian Hate. We are still fighting this battle against white supremacy today. And similarly to the characters in this book, 12 years later, they're still fighting against this mega corporation that is trying to kill them, that is trying to erase their identities. So like, I guess that's why I can't really give this like a straight up 2-star or straight up 1-star, even though I have so many grievances about it, because it does make me think a lot. And I really do think that with expansion, with more depth, I think it would be really cool. There is the book, it's a prequel story, I think, National Anthem, and I think it wrapped up quite recently, but the volume doesn't come out until July, I think. So, and I feel like this book kind of has a similar, is conundrum the right word? Sort of a similar thing with Umbrella Academy. I read the comic before the TV show came out. Similarly to Umbrella Academy, although I think Umbrella Academy did it better, probably because in which, like, when we meet these characters, like, they already have like a whole story behind them that still affects them when we meet them, and when they interact, like, we know that there is more to their words than what they are actually saying. But I think that one did that better because you can kind of figure it out within the first volume. But with this, it's just like, we only get this first volume, first of all. Umbrella Academy is a whole series. With only this first volume, there is just so much packed into this little box, and you don't understand it all. With Umbrella Academy, you can kind of read between the lines, but with this, like, I feel like you can't dive deeper because there are no answers. With this, with Umbrella Academy, there were answers because it's a series. This is just the book, and that's what frustrates me the most. Maybe I will lower it down to a 2-star now that I've been ranting so much. But you know, hey, if the people who made the Umbrella Academy TV show wants to take a crack at this, then I think it'll be great, because I do like the Umbrella Academy TV show more than the books. Sorry, not sorry. I can't wait for season 3. I will probably read National Anthem when it comes out this July because I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker. I'm a big fucking... You can play me like a fiddle. Right, so my voice is shot. I need water. Everyone hydrate. Those were all the books that I read for the month of March. This was a crazy month for me. I'm gonna read more manga. I'm gonna read more books. I say I'm gonna read more books, but then I don't even know where to start. I'm thinking of rereading some books so I can kind of get into my groove again. The thing is that I've been so busy with school that I haven't been able to really like dive into a novel. I mean, I am reading a book right now that is for school, so I will be talking about that when I get around to it. I just feel like I need to sort of revisit my roots, like revisit the stuff that I love, so I can sort of like reset myself and just sort of, yeah, like go back to the things that I know I love. I'm still gonna be reading I'm probably still gonna be reading a lot of manga because I also, like I said, I just bought a bunch, basically impulse purchased a lot of new manga. So I'm gonna be talking about those. Stories are great. You love the stories you love, and then you dislike the ones that you dislike. Just sometimes you don't click, and that's okay. Someone else will probably click with it more. That's okay. I hope this wasn't too fast. I always feel like I talk a bit too fast, but just, I don't know. Let me know if I talk too fast. If there's a book that you think I like, maybe leave a comment down below. Like, subscribe, tell me to drink water, ring the notification bell. Cool. Let me know what you read in the month of March. Let me know if you also love these manga, if you also love these books. Kiss your fandom friends goodnight. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.